This vehicle right here is one of the most awarded vehicles we've ever tested on Test Drive. In fact, it just won the World Car of the Year for 2024, as well as the 2024 North American Utility Vehicle of the Year, the German Luxury Car of the Year, and a number of other awards. And it was also nominated for even more. So why is this vehicle so highly regarded? We're going to be going over absolutely everything you need to know about this 2024 Kia EV9 Land with the GT Line package. Now in the US, this isn't a package, this is the trim. Here in Canada, the Land has several different packages, this being the top end one, coming in at about $81,500 Canadian, or about $78,000 in the US. It is quite expensive, but you do get quite a bit for it. We have a 379 horsepower, 516 pound-foot of torque power plant that propels this vehicle forward using a 99.8 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery. That's good with this trim for about 435 kilometers of all-electric range. That's 16 kilometers less than if you didn't go with the GT Line package, and about 54 kilometers less if you went with just the rear-wheel drive version of the Land. Now, what can I tell you about this vehicle? It has a 5,000 pound tow rating, and it comes with an 11 kilowatt EVSE. That is the electric vehicle standard equipment charging cable. So from 0 to 100, you can get this charged up at about 9 hours, just under that, if you've got a 40 amp breaker at home. This can also be charged at 350 kilowatts DC fast charging. Now, we don't have anything like that here in Ontario. Most of them are about 50, but even at 50, you'd still be looking at about 60 minutes from about 10 to 80%. But if you do find a 350 kilowatt, you can get this charged from 10 to 80% in about 24 minutes, which is really good. Now, we're gonna go around the exterior of the vehicle, jump on the inside, talk about what's going on there, and then take it for a drive. So join me as we hit the front of this vehicle to talk about some of the features found on the Kia EV9 Land. Look at that, that's really cool. Not only with the GT Line do you get the unique bumper and front end on this vehicle, but you also have this unique lighting pattern. Kia calls it the Focused. It is a GT Line exclusive, and there's 6 other ways that the front grille can light up when you approach the vehicle. So you can change how you like it, depending on kind of what your mood is, but you can set all of that through the vehicle's infotainment system, which I think is kind of cool. It's a good way to personalize your vehicle. This is a really popular color. I've seen a lot of the press cars and everything, worldwide coverage in the ocean blue for this Kia EV9. So you're probably going to see a lot of coverage on it. Most of them so far that have been sold in Canada are black though. So yeah, if you've got a couple of them in the parking lot, maybe a couple of years from now, once more people buy these and you want to know, hey, is this mine? Aside from the license plate, your little light up there can be unique to give you those little kind of distinguished features to make your car a little bit more personal. But there's a couple other things that come on the front of this vehicle that I want to talk about. We have LED lighting, 360-degree cameras and all that, but we also do have a front storage compartment, and it does have a way to get to it from the key. You hold down the button just like you would the trunk, and then your front storage opens up. There's a small amount of space in here. It's not huge. It says you can only put about 45 pounds of weight in there, but could be good for your EVSE. In there's the V2L charging adapter, the vehicle to load, that allows you to take power from the vehicle and power devices or power your house, whatever it may be. So the adapter's in there, so you can put some stuff in there. It is pretty decent, and that's one of the major complaints that we have about electric vehicles that have a front storage area. It's just not convenient to get into it. This actually is. You have the access through the key fob, and there's also a button that you press on the interior, so you don't have to pull a latch like you would if this was a normal hood. A little bit better. So I do like that. That is a win for me. And then closing it, pretty straightforward. I think most people should be able to do that. Hey, would you look at that? The snow's coming back. That's awesome. It's April. Please stop. Let's talk about the side profile of the Kia EV9. Obviously, it's meant to look a lot like a Telluride, except fully electric. There are some features along the side here I want to talk about. We have gloss black mirrors that come on this GT Line trim. Obviously, we've got keyless entry and things like that. Power charge door, so when you push it, it will open up and you can close it up. Plus, it's got a plastic cap for the level 3 adapter, so that way you don't have a rubber grommet lying around as you're trying to charge the vehicle. We have 21-inch rims. They are black. They look really cool, as well as the remote parking feature that we've seen on other vehicles from Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis. I do like the look of it. I like this in the GT Line trim. Although it is expensive, I think it looks pretty good. And overall, I mean, if you're looking for a larger 3-row vehicle, There's no other SUVs on the market right now that have that as a fully electric offering. So let's check around the back and see what's going on there. This might be a surprise to you, but I don't enjoy the weather. Let's talk about the rear end of the EV9. Again, very similar to what you would expect from a large SUV such as this. I do like it's very squared off, very sharp edges overall. The design of this bumper is exclusive to the GT line, so you get a slightly different look with it. We also have the skid plates there, which are unique to the GT line. We also have a power lifting tailgate, which you would expect to have, as well as the rest of the sensors and cameras. Plus we have a rear view camera for the digital rear view mirror. Now it's actually placed just underneath the spoiler area, which is a good place for it. It's not gonna get too dirty. There's no way to clean it though, so if it does get gunked up, you do have to clean it manually, but for the most part, it's kind of out of the way. It's been awesome weather, honestly. Greatest weather, thank you so much. I do like that the third row is power operated. You can lift and lower the seats with just the push of a button. So it's great if you need to get larger items into the back of this vehicle. Plus, if you have passengers that you want to put in there, you just lift it up and you can get into it. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we jump on the inside, which we'll be doing right now because I believe my ears are about to fall off from frostbite. Wow, look at all that climate change happening outside. It's almost as if all of the poor decisions we've made generation after generation have finally caught up with us. So the second row seats here of the EV9, very comfortable. You're getting quite a bit for it, and we get a little shafted here in North America because in Europe and other markets like Korea, where this vehicle comes from, the second row here can swivel 180 degrees to have the two second and third row seats facing into each other. That way you don't have to deal with the people in the front. Really cool stuff. We don't get that here, but we do get a lot of power functions on the second row. So the seats can recline, they can move up, they can move forwards and backs, up and down. And then there's also a recline mode. And then there's also a leg rest, which pops up from the bottom. All four, front seats and second row seats have these features. Really cool to have. It's great if you're like me. I spend a lot of time waiting for my daughter at the end of the day before she gets out of school. Great way to just relax. Put the seat back a little bit, have a little bit of a relax. It's excellent. Other features found back here: tri-zone automatic climate control. We've got vents in the headliners. They're quite elegant. They've got this sort of metallic type finish to it. It is plastic, but does give it a nice look. And then features that we've come to expect from vehicles like this from Kia include USB-C charging right in the backs of the seats here. So that way, if you've got devices you want to charge, excellent to be able to do that. And then there's this movable center console, which I haven't seen on any other vehicle before. So this can actually come out. You have a little bit of a tray here. If you pull the whole thing out, this can either be a table, you can slide that in, you've got storage here, you can keep that closed up like that. It can slide in and out. There's ambient lighting in it, so it's a little bit easier to get at night. You have two cup holders there for the passengers, as well as seat back pockets. So there's a lot of good storage here in this vehicle. These seats back here are heated and ventilated, which is nice to have. The second row, none of those features there. We do have some air vents and USB-C, and it actually is really easy to get into the third row. The seats will electronically move out of the way with the push of a button, and then go back not quite as far. One thing that I always like about these vehicles is when you put the seat back, it doesn't go all the way back. So if you do have somebody sitting in that third row, they're not going to get pinched, they're not going to get squished. You can then retract the seat back with the power functions should you need to. So good stuff overall in the second row here. This is one of the reasons why you're going to be buying an EV9. You need something bigger. You have a larger family. You're putting a lot of people or stuff in the vehicle. You want to have a lot of these features, and this is what we'd expect to find. Not only at this price point, about $80,000 Canadian, quite a bit. It's a big amount to spend on this vehicle, but we would expect to find this in this size of vehicle as well. So it's great to see all of these features on this top end trim. Do I expect this to be a top seller for Kia? Absolutely not. I expect people, while they will go for the Land, to skip the GT line, save about $14,000, but then any of the other trims are still really good. So you don't need to have all the features if you don't need them, but if you are in the market for a fully loaded, almost luxury level vehicle, it's got it. But let's hit the front, see what's going on there, and then we will take it on the road. Look at that, it's sunny. The interior here of the Kia EV9, it's not over the top EV, and that's what I like, because it was one of the main questions I was asking myself the entire week that I was driving this. If this was an ICE vehicle, would I still like it? The answer is yes, I would. And that's what I really like about this vehicle, because some of the electrics are just too quirky. They have way too much that's different from what you would expect a regular car to have. Something like this, though, yeah, it is modern feeling. There are less buttons. Maybe the touch buttons on the dash area here are a little too quirky for me. But you do still have enough that makes it feel like you're driving a normal car. It just happens to be an electric. So I do like that. But let's talk a little bit about the interior here, because there is quite a bit going on. So first of all the seats in here are synthetic leather, as what you typically expect to find in an electric vehicle. We're looking at eco-friendly materials. We don't want to use any animal products wherever we can. So synthetic leather, they're very comfortable. And again, we have tons of seating controls. All of the extra seat controls are up here on the door card. I like that. There is also massage for the driver, as well as heat, ventilation, heated steering wheel, 2 stages, and 2 driver memory settings. And then the steering wheel is pretty new. We haven't seen anything like this from Kia, and I do like it. It's kind of a yoke design, but I do like the fact that it still is a normal steering wheel. Our drive mode and terrain modes are actually built into the steering wheel itself. And then to start the vehicle, much like we've seen on the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and 6, there's sort of a twist knob to be able to shift into the gears. That's where the EV start and stop button is. So I do like that there is a physical button to determine whether or not the vehicle is on or off. Now, Kia also says this is the first vehicle to feature their emblem lighting on the steering wheel. So the Kia emblem will light up when you're driving at night. We have ambient lighting on here, as well as full LED interior lighting, which we would expect to find. And then all the other stuff that we would want on this vehicle. We've got the navigation system. Kia's infotainment is by far one of the best. All the electric vehicle stuff we would want, scheduling, on and off peak hour charging, things like that are all in there. I have a little widget that I can have here on my map that shows me what's currently using the energy in the vehicle. Currently, electronics are using 0.5 kilowatt, and then the climate systems are using just under 0.5 kilowatt of power. And then once we start driving, the drivetrain will use up some power. So it's giving me a real-time indication of what's being used. Now, battery care, that's if it's winter time, you've got that maintenance mode on. That would also show up there. Luckily, it's been more or less warm enough. I haven't had to use it, but with the weather we've had today, maybe. But everything else is really nice about this interior. I do like it. I mean, there's nothing missing. That's the key thing. If I'm looking at an $80,000 vehicle, there isn't anything missing on here that I would want. We do have a more premium audio system with a 14-speaker Meridian surround sound system. I do find that the wired Apple CarPlay audio sounds better than Sirius XM, but it is a pretty good system overall. Not too bassy, but I do like it. 360 cameras work extremely well. The blind view screen works, so when you turn on your turn signals, it'll show you the camera on that side that you're turning. And we mentioned the digital rear view camera mirror as well, that works. So everything is really good about it. We've got a sunroof for the second and third row, a standard sunroof up here. This one is a manual shade, no problem. And there's a power shade for that second row. So, I mean, everything works. I like it. There's enough buttons here to keep you happy. Yeah, they have removed some of them, but for the most part, all you really need is the temperature controls, right? And you've got your basic controls to get into your radio. Everything else is there. 12.3-inch display for the driver information and the infotainment, plus a 5-inch, what I would almost say is like e-paper for the climate controls. And it does take a little to get used to. It does get blocked by the steering wheel for me. So if it was just over an inch, maybe, it'd be a little bit easier for me to see. But you can control things like your front and rear zone climate. Easy button to be able to turn on driver only, which I like to have. So good stuff from there. There's really no complaints when it comes to the inside of this vehicle, which is the time for us to take it for our road test. Is it going to be winter? Is it going to be spring? Who knows? Let's find out in the next 2 minutes what kind of weather conditions we're going to be testing the 2024 Kia EV9 GT Line in, because who knows? Well, I told you I wasn't sure what kind of weather we were going to have for our road test. It's only been 10 minutes since I finished filming the last segment, and from where we are now, I got sun above me and gray skies ahead of me. Welcome to Ontario. Let's talk about the energy efficiency of this 2024 Kia EV9. I completed this test loop in 23.4 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers in eco mode. Not bad. Vehicle was fully charged more or less when I picked it up. Weather was relatively clear. Didn't have any rain or snow or anything like that. Was able to get that pretty close to what I would expect to find for smaller electric vehicles, especially all-wheel drive ones. So I'm quite impressed that this was as efficient as it was. Now, before I started to use the regen braking, we were looking closer to 25, almost 26 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So if you're on the highway, you're spending a lot of time on the highway, your range will likely decrease. But if you're doing a lot of in-town stuff, should be good. Now, we haven't tested any other vehicles in this size segment. The only other electric vehicle that was big was the Ford F-150 Lightning. Not very comparable, but just to give you an idea, that completed our test loop in 32 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Now, I do acknowledge that a vehicle like the Rivian R1 would be pretty darn close. The R1S, right, the SUV, would be probably pretty close in terms of size to this. We don't have access to Rivian's press fleet, so until we do, I won't be able to tell you anything about it, but yeah, that might be an option for you if you're looking at these bigger SUVs. But let's talk a little bit about this vehicle, because I do like it. I mean, I can understand why it won all of the awards that it did. It is superb. As an electric vehicle, it does everything I want it to do. And then again, we talked about when I was in the front seats, I thought about it the entire time I was driving this. If this had a 3.8 liter V6 engine underneath the hood, everything else though was the same about it, would I still like this vehicle? And the answer is yes, I would. I think it's very comfortable. It's smooth. It's quiet. You know, seating comfort is great. The seating positions are good. You know, all the features and tech that you find on this vehicle are what you would want at this price point, or for at least an electric vehicle. So you're getting everything that you want and need. Yeah, I would recommend not necessarily going for this top end trim, because you can save a lot of money if you go with one of the lower trims and still get the same sort of experience, just without all the frills. So yeah, I mean, everything works about this vehicle. I just think that it's come out at the wrong time, because public opinion about electric vehicles has changed. The overall outlook of electric vehicles has changed, and there's no arguing it. You know, I've had people comment about it, that they say, oh, you know, like there's still great sales and still a lot of registrations going on. Yes, but if you take a look at things like the days on market for a lot of electric vehicles, the average has gone up almost 2 times from what it was at the beginning of 2023. There are more electric vehicles on dealership lots today sitting than there were before, and they're sitting for way longer. Because this time last year, if you had an electric vehicle that you could sell, you sold it. It was sold even before it got to the dealership. Today, you've got tens, dozens, if not more, sitting on the lots waiting for people to come and take a look at them. It's changed. So there's no arguing that things have changed even in the last 12 months when it comes to the overall adoption excitement when it comes to electric vehicles. Now, we here on Test Drive really do like our electric vehicles. We love them. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about that, because we really do want you to understand everything there is to know about this vehicle. And I have to imagine that the reason you're watching this video is because you have some level of interest in the EV9. So I'm not going to spend all time doom and gloom about how the industry has changed, but I just feel that if this came out a year ago, there would be a lot more excitement about it. And I'm not saying that it's not an exciting vehicle. I'm sure Kia is doing a great job selling these, because they are pretty limited. It is a new vehicle. It is a big vehicle. You know, there's a lot going for it, but I just think that, like a lot of the other electric vehicles on the market right now, in the next 6 months, these are probably going to be sitting on dealership lots, just because the timing is wrong. People just aren't as excited about it. So everything is really good about the vehicle. I'm not disappointed. I mean, this has been probably the top electric vehicle I've wanted to test now for 6 months, 8 months, really, since I restarted doing this in the summer. I said, I got to get myself an EV9. I really want to see what all the hype is about, and I am not disappointed. Would have been really cool to have those swivel seats in the back, but hey, we can't have everything, right? But we get quite a lot, and I mean, it is really well equipped. Even the performance is more than what I expected, because I've kept this in normal mode for the most part. I did do eco mode for our test loop, but if I do put the vehicle into sport mode, first of all, you can feel like the throttle response has changed, even with my foot at the same level. But the seats bolster up just like on a sports car, and then if you mash it, oh my God, I mean, whoa! That is crazy. And just to compare, if I put this in eco mode and I put the pedal to the metal like I just did, not as forceful. It's more gentlemanly. So you get all of that power, which is what you expect from an EV, but you get it in a respectful way. So that's what I like about it. Plus, we've got some drive modes too, right? Snow, mud, and sand. Don't need those today. Thankfully, no snow for me, but it was snowing a little bit not too long ago. So, you do have those drive modes there, and having all-wheel drive all the time is good. So, I mean, you're trading off with this particular trim on the range. I think that the range is all right. Obviously, we've talked about that before, and, really what it comes down to is price. And I argued that when we drove the Ioniq 6 a few weeks ago. I said that if the price was like $5,000 less, I'd be a lot more excited. This is a lot more money. There's no doubt, $82,000 Canadian. This is quite a bit more than the rear-wheel drive long-range Ioniq 6 that I drove. So you're getting a lot more with this vehicle though, because it is so large. It is fully loaded, and I mean, you're getting a lot more passenger space with this vehicle. So there is a bit of a trade-off here. I still think that electric vehicles are just a tad on the pricey side, and that's going to limit people getting into them, especially as this market has changed. So again, at $82,000, I'm not expecting tons of these to sell. More at the $64,000 mark, where this vehicle starts at for the Land trim, I think that's going to be a lot more manageable for people, because you're getting a very large vehicle. You're getting all these capabilities and features and tech and everything, and it's fully electric. So I'll be interested to see what the sales numbers are like, but let me know what you think about this, because as I said, I'm not disappointed one bit. I've enjoyed my time with this. This would definitely be an electric vehicle I would consider if I needed the space, because everything else about it has been great. I don't need all of this space all the time. So for me, it's just, it's almost too big, but I do like having a large vehicle. But let me know in the comments below, what do you think of the Kia EV9? Is this the vehicle for you? Is it the vehicle that came up at the wrong time for you, like I said? Let me know. We do get back to everybody in the comments. Just takes us a little while, especially as we're continuing to grow. It just takes us a little bit longer as we're producing all these videos, reviewing all these cars, and doing everything in the back end. We will get you in those comments though. But thanks for watching. We invite you to subscribe to the channel and also like the video and share it online. Until next time, take care.